For a really long time, humanity essentially thought of getting sick as just a mechanical breakdown of the body, like a car engine giving out. But, the true story of human health is so much richer than that, and it has actually taken us thousands of years to finally put all the pieces together. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to dive deep into that evolution.
Here is our agenda for today. We're taking a chronological journey, starting with defining health psychology, then moving through spirits and Greek humors, the Middle Ages, divine punishment, the biomedical revolution, and finally, the modern biopsychosocial model.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, defining health psychology, beyond just the body.
So what exactly is health psychology? Well, it stems from this massive realization in the scientific community that you simply cannot separate the physical body from the psychological and social world it lives in. They are totally intertwined. Every thought you have, every emotion you feel, your daily lifestyle choices, your social conditions, and crucially, your behaviors, like what you eat or how you manage stress, they are literally all actively writing the story of your physical health and illness. Because of that, modern health psychology doesn't just look at one narrow thing. It examines a massive spectrum. It looks deeply at the psychological causes and treatments of specific illnesses. It focuses heavily on the prevention of disease before it even has a chance to start. It actively works on health promotion, figuring out how to encourage entire populations to live healthier lives. And honestly, perhaps most impressively, it takes all this data and uses it for the modification of health policies and healthcare practices. We're talking about fundamentally changing how hospitals operate and how public health campaigns are run. It's the whole shebang, a completely holistic approach to wellness.
Now, as you can see on this timeline, human history has seen a massive pendulum swing in how we view health. This holistic view we just talked about, it definitely didn't happen overnight. We are going to trace this chaotic, winding path era by era, from the prehistoric era to the ancient Greeks, through the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, and right up to the modern era, just to see how our ancestors tried to make sense of getting sick.
Which brings us to Section 2, Spirits and Greek Humors, Early Connections. Believe it or not, in prehistoric times, people actually firmly believed that the mind and body were interconnected, but the reasoning was entirely supernatural. They believed that illness literally meant an evil spirit had physically entered a person's body. Because of this belief, their treatments relied heavily on intense rituals and spiritual practices. They even used vigorous physical exercise, literally trying to sweat or forcefully drive those malevolent forces out of the sick person.
And if you want to know just how seriously they took this spiritual impact on health, look no further than trephination. This was a practice that involved literally making holes in the skull using sharp, primitive tools to address health issues. Imagine your doctor prescribing a hole in the head for a fever. But their logic was perfectly clear to them. If an evil spirit is trapped inside causing sickness, you need to create a physical exit route for it to leave the head. It sounds absolutely terrifying to us today, but it vividly demonstrates their profound early belief that spiritual factors directly affected the physical body.
But then the pendulum swings. The ancient Greeks step onto the scene and radically shift the narrative. They're widely considered among the very first to attempt to explain illness scientifically, purposefully moving away from just blaming everything on evil spirits. They actually wanted a tangible, observable explanation for why we get sick.
So they developed the humoral theory of illness. This posited that human health depended entirely on the precise balance of 4 bodily fluids, or humors. And they didn't just link these fluids to physical health, they directly linked them to our emotional temperaments. For example, an abundance of blood was tied to a passionate temperament. Black bile was connected to feelings of profound sadness. Yellow bile was associated with an angry nature, and finally, phlegm was tied to a calm, laid-back personality.
According to the theory, getting a disease just meant that these 4 humors had fallen out of balance. So naturally, the primary goal of any ancient Greek medical treatment was simply to restore that delicate balance. Now, obviously, this specific humoral theory is not scientifically accepted today, but we have to recognize it as a massive historical stepping stone. It was a huge early emphasis on the mind-body connection, suggesting that our physical makeup and our emotional states are deeply intertwined.
Now let's jump into Section 3, Middle Ages, Divine Punishment, the Supernatural Returns.
Talk about a step backward, right? During the Middle Ages, the historical pendulum takes a dramatic swing away from that early science, marking a complete return to supernatural explanations. Disease was suddenly viewed almost exclusively as God's punishment for human sins, or directly linked back to evil, demonic forces. Because of this, the church took total control over medical knowledge. Physicians effectively acted like priests. Your doctor was way more concerned with the spiritual state of your soul than your underlying biology. If you fell ill, your treatments were strictly limited to reciting religious prayers, performing good deeds, and seeking spiritual healing to cleanse those sins.
Let's fast forward a bit to Section 4, the Biomedical Revolution. Enter the microscope. The Renaissance and the scientific revolution hit, and technology literally changes everything. Suddenly we have the invention of the microscope, revealing a microscopic world that was entirely invisible before. We see the development of the autopsy, allowing for the detailed, hands-on study of internal organs and specific diseases. Science began to unlock the complex mysteries of cellular pathology. We were finally looking closely at the incredibly tiny machinery of the body, rapidly advancing our understanding of human anatomy.
Because medical science was making such huge strides in biology during this era, the focus shifted entirely to bodily processes, chemical imbalances, and physiological abnormalities. This birthed the biomedical model of health. This model essentially declared that illness is caused solely by biological factors. Think of it like this. Under this model, a human is just a machine, and a doctor is just a mechanic fixing broken parts. But by focusing so intensely on the physical, they largely ignored psychological and social influences entirely, completely leaving out the human experience of being sick.
But here's the catch. If illness is purely biological and mechanical, it couldn't explain everyday anomalies. It prompted modern researchers to start asking questions like this one. Why do some people catch colds under stress while others do not? If two people are exposed to the exact same biological virus, why does the one going through a stressful life event get sick while the happy, relaxed person fights it off? Biology alone simply could not explain everything about our health.
And that perfectly tees up our final section, Section 5, the modern biopsychosocial model, a complete picture.
Researchers eventually proved through rigorous study that biological factors alone were just not enough. Modern studies definitively show that our psychological stress actively affects our physical immunity, literally lowering our body's natural defenses. They prove that daily lifestyle choices, like our diets and sleep schedules, heavily influence chronic disease rates. They demonstrated that underlying social conditions dictate our life expectancy and that our everyday behaviors strictly govern our overall health outcomes. The mind, the society, and the body were undeniably linked.
You can see this playing out vividly in modern health disparities today. For instance, life expectancy differs drastically across different countries and even across different social groups within the exact same city, proving that environmental and social factors matter immensely. We also know that statistically, women generally live longer than men, which brings in profound behavioral and social elements. Studies even show that active religious and spiritual involvement may measurably improve health outcomes. Having that social and spiritual support network is literally proven to lower stress and improve your physical resilience. Everything is connected.
So to really nail down how far we've come, let's compare the two side by side. We have successfully moved away from the rigid biomedical model, which tried to explain illness mainly through biological factors, bodily processes, and chemical imbalances. Today, we embrace the biopsychosocial model. This model correctly explains health through the constant, dynamic interaction of biological, psychological, and social factors. This comprehensive approach is now the absolute foundation of all modern health psychology.
As we wrap up this explainer, we've seen health evolve from prehistoric evil spirits to Greek humors to Middle Age punishments to purely biological machines, and finally to our current biopsychosocial reality. So I want to leave you with this highly personal thought, knowing definitively that your health is not just about your physical body, but is deeply impacted by your emotions, your social environment, and your daily lifestyle. How are your own daily emotions, social circles, and thoughts actively shaping your physical health right now? Keep that in mind and make sure you're taking care of your whole self. See you next time.